Welcome back to the Gen 20 podcast. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Marina, and today we are interviewing Nicole. So Nicole runs Gen 20, the sister site Gen 30, and along with me, the Capsule Collab, all while working from home full-time as a mom of a 2-year-old with another baby on the way. So today we're going to talk to her about how she manages it all and how she goes through different parts of her day. So Nicole, first things first, what does your day look like? What is your routine or your schedule?
Okay, so my day is, I feel like it looks a little different than what I would say like most people's days look like. Like, I'm not really a morning person, so I'm not really the kind of person who's going to get up and do a bunch of work in the morning. That's just not me. So my day generally starts whenever my toddler wakes up. That's just when the family wakes up. Although my husband has recently taken up this thing about fitness, so he gets up early 3 days a week to go like work out. It's like foreign to me. I don't know. But anyway, so we usually spend our mornings together. We all have breakfast, and then I usually have 2 to 3 hours to work until it's like my son's lunch and nap time, and then that's when my husband starts work, which is kind of weird because his day starts much later because he works for a West Coast based company, and we currently live on the East Coast. So it does give me a little bit of time in the morning to work. And then after nap time, I'm like the point parent. So we have lots of playtime. I try to do like one structured activity with my son every day. And then he usually, quote unquote, helps me make dinner around 4:35. And then we spend time as a family between like 5 and 7. And then my little one goes to bed. And usually that's when I spend time resting or doing other things I need to do around the house. I'm not usually, at least during this pregnancy, not really wanting to work in the evening. So that's when I'll like read or take a bath or whatever. And my husband usually has to keep working for a little while just because of the time difference. But yeah, that's basically my day.
Wow, that's a busy schedule. So like can you talk more about how you get your work done? It sounds like you have a very finite amount of time. Can you like speak to that?
Yeah, so I usually have a solid 2 to 3 hours in the mornings to work, which I feel like doesn't sound like a lot of time, but I tend to focus on like 3 things I have to get done. And I kind of just keep a running to-do list of other things that need to be finished. And like some of those things might be getting things done so that the people I've outsourced them to can finish them up. Might be answering emails, it might be like some days I have to do editing, scheduling, those kinds of things. But yeah, I just really have to prioritize what I need to do and then make sure those things get finished.
And then, so I guess I should ask too, from fellow entrepreneur, do you work on the weekends?
It really depends. Like right now it's a weekend and we're, recording the podcast,
Yeah,
so it
we're
just
working
doesn't
on a
work.
Saturday.
But it just kind of depends like what I need to do. Like if I happen to have like a lot of deadlines or a lot of things I want to get done, then yes, I will take a 1 or 2 hours on the weekend to work. Um, but not always. I feel like a lot of times Saturdays are kind of like lazy days around our house, and Sundays are kind of like get our life together for the week days. That's just generally how it goes. I feel like I really like to take Sunday night to make sure the house is like tidy, clean, ready for the week. And like when I'm kind of scheduling out like activities that I'm going to do with my son, like I just hate this feeling of being like, what are we doing? So I like to just, whether it's like pull up a couple activities on Pinterest that I can do with him to like, have this like structured one-on-one time. I like to do that. So yeah, it kind of like I try not to work on the weekends, but sometimes I do just, out of necessity or like, even, you know, desire. Like sometimes there's just things I want to get done.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. So what is the biggest challenge for being you're like a full-time mom and a full-time employee and you work from home and mom from home. So what are your biggest obstacles?
I think the thing is just really like advocating for myself, like within my family unit, that I need time to do things because I feel like my needs and, you know, time that I need for things tend to come last.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that just stems from, like, the nature of things really, like, because, I mean, my husband has to report to other people,
Yeah.
whereas I don't. Like, I have to report to myself, and, like, yes, I do have deadlines sometimes or things that I, like, absolutely need to get done, but it's, like slightly different, I think, when your job and your paycheck is, like, hinging on, turning something in on time or
Mhm.
whatever it may be. So I think that's really, like, my biggest challenge, and then I think, like, I think it tends to, for some reason, be on moms a lot, I think, just, like, the general running of the household, so, like, it's typically on me to make sure laundry's done and things like that, and, like, I don't know, I've had this conversation with, like, a lot of my friends, like, single, married, like, all types of people, and for some reason, like, the mental load of moms just seems higher.
Mhm.
So, like, whereas I'm like, "Okay, I see this laundry basket that needs to be washed, I'll put it in the wash while I'm doing these other things." I feel like a lot of I don't know, like, I wanna say dads, but it might just be, like, a certain type of personality. Like, they don't think that way, like, it's not like, "How much can we get done in this time?" It's like,
Yeah, there's, like, a
"We're
different
doing this
sense.
one thing right now." Yeah, and then it's like, they don't even think about, "Oh, the laundry needs to be done," or like, "Oh, the trash needs to be taken out," or stuff like that. So, I just try to have a lot of, like, systems in place in my life. So, like, meal planning for the week, like, I generally just get meal kits. Like, right now, we're just using Home Chef because it takes up too much mental energy and space for me to, like, plan out the recipes we're making and, like, order all those groceries. Like, I have enough to do. I don't need that, like, extra
Mhm.
layer in my life. So, meal kits right now for us just work really well. And yeah, that's just, like, how I make things run smoothly in my life.
Yeah, that's a great strategy to make sure you're working smarter and not harder. And,
Yeah, the motto.
that's the motto. So what is your favorite thing about being your own boss and being an entrepreneur?
Well, honestly, it's really just that I get to decide what I work on, what I don't work on. Um, I, obviously like to spend my time doing the things that I want to be doing. That's like, of course, there's parts of my business that I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I mean, in general, it's like, like pursuing the podcast and like the capsule collab and things like that. Like, those are things I want to be doing. So I have the time and money to make those things happen. So I can make those things happen. I feel like what I like the most.
Oh, yeah. That's what I found too, is just I really like the flexibility. So what's your favorite part about being a mom?
Really, it's like watching my son grow and like discover the world. Like, it's just such a joy to watch these like this one little human, soon to be two little humans, just running around like learning and discovering and like figuring out all these new skills. And just it's like in some ways it's really funny. Like, I like, just toddlers are hilarious, like,
Mhm.
just the things they're trying to do and say, and I just find that really joyful, and I think kind of, like, one thing I adopted, like, early on in my parenting journey is, like, things can be hard or things can be easy, and it's just sort of what you make them. Like, we can find joy even in difficult moments, and I don't think my toddler has fully reached the, like, full tantrum stage yet, which I'm sure he'll get there, but it's just interesting to, like, help him learn his emotions and, like, work through those things and kind of to shape this, like, new human being.
Yeah, and so you're about to have a second human. What do you think is gonna change? I mean, it's hard to know, but at the same time, you can expect a little bit.
Um, yeah, really, I think the biggest thing is that I will have far less time than I do now, and I feel like when you hear from parents is either that, like, the transition from 0 to 1 children was harder or 1 to 2 was harder, and I'm really interested to know, like, how I'm gonna feel about that because I felt like the transition from 0 to 1 kids was, like, just very difficult, like,
Mhm.
there were just many challenges I didn't expect to come across, and, like, kind of internally, you have to, like, when my son would wake up from a nap, have to be like, "Okay, I have to switch away from like work now. And
Yeah.
it's like hard to stop things in the middle of them. So that was like really difficult for me. And then just like all of these like new challenges that I was like, I don't like how do you get a baby to eat solids? What do you do? And not just like always taking what your doctors say at face value. Like you have to do your own research for your own child. So I just think it's going to be really interesting to see like if going from one child to two, if I find it easier or harder, because what I've read from other parents is like mostly to try to keep the toddler schedule like as much as possible and then, get baby two onto that schedule
Yeah.
as quickly as you can, which, is going to take, several weeks. So,
Oh, for sure. And it's, it also depends on the nature of the baby and their personality and
mhm.
coming from someone who is a mother of 0 humans, but I've witnessed your adjustment, and I feel like because you were working, you've run your own business for 7 years now, and so when you had your first son, that was the first time you had like someone to report to, like where your
Mhm.
autonomy and flexibility of your schedule was now dictated by another person, and I wonder if that will be less jarring now because you're already in that routine and you have kind of a roadmap of what it's like. So it will be, only time will tell. But do you
Yeah,
think
it's two tiny dictators now. It's the
it's
only difference.
yeah, and just wait until the second one is big enough to follow along with the first one. And your son's pretty smart, so um, he could use that power against you. But he's also a wonderfully sweet baby. I guess he's almost not a baby anymore. But so you've had a lot of changes in the last year, but what has working and momming during a pandemic looked like? Because right when the pandemic started, your son had just started going to daycare. And then, of course, that changed. So, what did you experience?
Yeah, so it was really interesting timing because he'd been going to daycare for 2 months at that point, but he had missed 2 full weeks already because of illness, probably from daycare,
Because it's a germ
which is
pool.
normal. It's normal, yeah. But he was only going 3 days a week, so he was kind of on like an abbreviated schedule. But it was just like I was like, okay, I'm getting like time where I can have like these dedicated work days, so I can get literally as much done as possible in these days that I need to. And then I know that he's getting like very focused time at daycare and like great socialization time.
Hmm.
And then the days that he's home with me, like we had memberships to like the zoo and the children's museum, and there were so many parks and stuff. Like, we were living in Seattle. So, like, in my mind, I was like, wow, this is going to be fantastic. Great. Excellent. And then the pandemic hits, and like, my husband's company was like one of the first companies to go work from home. And I was just like, they already knew how serious it was because they had offices in China.
Hmm.
And for them, it was like, I don't know. They were like, yeah, we're not coming back to work in 2 weeks. It's going to be a while.
Like, buckle up.
And like at first, yeah, I think everyone is kind of like in denial, right? They're sort of like, oh no, like we'll be back in 2 weeks. Like it'll be fine. It'll be normal. We'll adjust. Like, no, our daycare was like, yeah, we're closing through July. And then our state put like another month on the stay at home order. And I was just like, this is not gonna go away. So like we need to figure out how to adapt to this.
Hmm.
So that was kind of like a really jarring transition in some ways, but like in also some ways it's been better because I like had my husband at home, so it wasn't just me with a toddler, because I felt like some days with just being home like with me and my newborn, I was like more lonely being home with this small human than I was just ever being by myself.
Hmm.
And I think it's because you have to take care of this human by yourself. So
Yeah, it's
like your
all on
whole,
you.
yeah, like schedule is like all about them basically. And then you don't have anyone to talk to. So, it's like and you're not just, like, working because I mean, a lot of times when I'm working, like, we're talking with Marina or I'm, like, just on GChat talking to other people or, like, interacting on social media, but, like, with a baby, it's not quite like that, but having my husband home was a little nicer because when we were recording the podcast, he could, take over and things like that, and we were kind of doing everything together, like, all the meals were then together, and just different parts of the day were together, but it's interesting because for him, like, when he's working, he's just, like, focused on work, like, it's, like, no question that I am taking care of our son,
Mhm.
but, like, I don't know, like, he just looks at his computer and doesn't even talk to me, but for me, like, I guess it's probably just a personality thing, but I'm, like, generally open to conversation when I'm working, I don't know, but then, like, now, it's kinda different because I'm like, "Okay, I have to work for, like, 2 hours, like, I'm locking the door, please, you guys go outside, I don't know, go do something," so it's interesting, but I think it's kind of changed for the better as long as I make sure I'm advocating for myself. And now we'd like to introduce you to our sponsor, the All of Us Research Program.
All of Us is from the National Institutes of Health, and it's the largest and most diverse health resource ever.
All of Us is asking 1 million or more people to join, including underrepresented groups who have been left out of research in the past, for example, people of color, seniors, women, and members of the LGBTQ community. Historically, medical research is 80 to 90% white, yet 40% of people in the US are people of color. And when certain groups are left out of the health research, they miss out on the opportunity to benefit from what is learned.
There are many ways to participate in All of Us from the comfort of your home, including surveys, providing a biosample, or sharing your electronic health records. As a participant, you can choose to receive genetic ancestry and traits results for free when you donate a biosample.
I recently gave birth to my second son, Teddy. His newborn cystic fibrosis screening came back abnormal, and after further tests, we found out he was negative for CF but is a gene carrier. This means if he has children with another CF gene carrier in the future, there's a chance their child could have CF. This is also how we found out that my husband is a CF gene carrier and I'm not. Information I wish we'd known sooner.
Only by understanding what makes us unique can health research catch up and serve all of our unique differences.
All of Us is aiming to reach 1 million participants. All eligible adults over 18 living anywhere in the United States can join. To help achieve this goal, Marina and I would love if you share All of Us with at least one other person in your life, because it's not just about you and me, it's about all of us. Join the revolution at joinallofus.org/gen20.
Yeah, so you've mentioned, like as we've chatted, you've mentioned two words that I think we should talk more about, like adapting and advocating. And like
Mhm.
what advice do you have for people who are in the same boat as you or who are about to transition into one or both of those like titles that you hold for
Mm.
how would you set yourself up for success?
Well, let's see. I think with so for let's just I guess we can just start with like becoming a mom for the first time. Like if you're about to just have like your first child, I think that it's definitely important to take the first, like, 12 weeks, like, there's this whole idea of the 4th trimester,
Mhm.
and just be very gentle with yourself. Like, the transition to parenting and, like, I mean, in those first, like, 3 months, it's really just the physical being of the newborn, um, can be kind of difficult, and I think the thing for me that was, like, a little overwhelming was, like, how loud newborns are.
Mhm.
Like, they just breathing, they can be loud. Like, they make a lot of noises, they sleep loudly, and it's just like, they say it's, like, safest to have your baby, like, in the same room with you sleeping, and, that's, like, up to you to do your own research on how you want to sleep with your child. But there were just some nights where I was like, I just I don't wanna sleep with the sound machine. Like, I just
Oh
wanna
yeah, because you
like
had the sound machine, you had the monitor.
yeah, so yeah, I mean, we used the snoo for my son, which was, like, really fantastic for him. He took to it very well, and he was essentially sleeping through the night at 6 weeks, which was great because, um, that's when my husband went back to work. So that was our goal to have him, like, sleeping on a solid, 7 to 8, 9-hour schedule. And at that point he was sleeping like 10 to 6 every day, which was great. Everyone was just getting sleep, but like the first couple of weeks aren't really like that. So
Mhm.
really just, be gentle with yourself and don't put too much pressure to do too many things. Like if you get out of the house like once every 3 days, like that's great. You're doing fantastic. But it's hard to like line up your schedule with like a baby schedule,
Yeah.
and especially cuz like the time windows for babies are like so small.
Mhm.
Like especially when they're, newborns. So it's really, I don't know. I feel like I just sort of felt like when I was going through that transition, I was just like, how is like my life going through this much change, but like life's just normal outside of my house? Like it's just shocking, honestly. And I think you do block a lot of that out as you your kid grows, because I just remember thinking like the more kids people have, the crazier they are. Like absolutely. Like
Yeah. There was a
it's
distinct moment in time when you told me to remind you that you didn't think you could do it a second time.
Yeah, and here we are. I'm almost 31 weeks pregnant with my second baby, so we will see how that goes. But
Coming in hot, baby number 2.
yeah, it's well, we'll see. The postpartum period is really challenging, and just kind of like accept help, whenever
Mhm.
people offer. Like don't feel bad about it. If someone is like, "Oh, hey, can I bring dinner over?" Yes, you absolutely may. You can do that all week if you really want to. That is wonderful for me. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and I think in all walks of life we should try to do this, but especially for new parents, like, ask for help because some people may not realize what you're especially if you're the first parent in your group of friends, people might not know what you're going through. So I would
Yeah.
say also ask for help. Accept help and ask for help.
Yeah, I think definitely like when you need help, ask for it. Like my mother-in-law stayed with us for like the original plan was like 1 week postpartum, but she ended up staying for 3, which was like I felt like a good amount of time, because I had to like I was hospitalized again after I gave birth to my son for a full day, and it was just so helpful to have a third person, especially because my induction process was very long, and like every labor and delivery is different. Like you never know how it's gonna go. So that's like, I mean, that's like a whole nother conversation.
Mhm.
But I was literally awake for like almost 3 days straight before like having my kid. And I think I slept 3 hours like that whole time. So I was already like very out of it. But like having another person there that's like can hold the baby like while you shower and like take care of things around the house and like cook for you and things like that is very helpful. So I mean she did offer to stay longer, and we were very graciously accepted.
Mhm.
And this time around she will also be staying with us for 3 weeks. Thank thank God.
And so what would you recommend for people who are eh, who maybe are already working from home just in a regular job or are still working from home because of the pandemic and about to be a work from home parent for the first time?
Um well, manage your expectations. First of all, I think if you can, have however much like maternity leave you have or paternity leave, like take all of it. I've like heard people save some of their leave for later, and I personally don't think that's the best way to do it. But kind of just like if you can ease back into work, like I know some workplaces offer like reduced hours like as you restart your journey. Definitely take advantage of that. And I think really just like manage your expectations and try to keep your schedule on line with your kid's schedule, which I know is probably way easier said than done. But I think that like kids are resilient, but they really thrive on routine. Like I know my son, he's just like much more well behaved. He sleeps better. Like everything is just better when he has like a solid routine. So if you can stick to that, I think that'll help everything else run more smoothly. And really, I mean, you do have to be adaptable. We can't, we're all living through a very challenging, difficult time. It is a very difficult thing to work from home with children. And like, if you do have someone who can help you, absolutely take advantage of that, in like whatever way you feel safest. But yeah, just trying to stick to your kid's schedule as much as possible, I think helps everything run much more smoothly.
Nicole, I know you share a lot of your personal experience working from home and momming from home full time on your blog and site, Gen 30. Where can everyone find you if they want to follow
Yeah,
along?
so if you want to hang out with me, talk to me, chat, I love mom friends and friends in general. You can find me on Instagram at It's Nicole Bose. I also have a YouTube channel and my blog, Gen 30. You could also message Gen 20 on Instagram if you want. I'm usually the one behind that. And yeah, that's pretty much the places I am on the internet.
And you should definitely check out her YouTube. Nicole is the funniest person I know, and she cracks me up. So,
Wow,
no,
thanks.
no pressure to continue with that, Nicole, but get that content out there. So, this has been another episode of the Gen 20 podcast. We're so glad to have you. Please feel free to rate and review. We love those 5-star reviews. So, anywhere you find podcasts, we're there, and we'll see you next time. Bye.